Heaven Official's Blessing. Chapter 216. Audio source: wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Hard to put on, harder to take off. Xie Lian then pulled out all of the black robes out, blindly picking at them, trying to find the brocade immortal. No success, and could only put on the white cultivator robe. He tossed on the side anew and turned to Hua Cheng. This really isn't working. Looks like we'll have to take the entire chest of clothes with us. Hearing this, Hua Cheng PFFT and snickered, and Xie Lian felt a little woeful, feeling rather ridiculous himself, taking a few dozen robes as blackmail material. So silly. But with things as they stood, there really weren't any better ideas. Yet unexpectedly, just as he was stuffing all the randomly strewn black robes back into the chest and was about to carry the thing, the doors to the side chamber opened, and Ling Wen walked in with a hand behind her back, looking exhausted. Ling Wen was probably done resting and was ready to return to put the brocade immortal back on, yet ran into the two uninvited guests who had broken into the chamber, one looking incredibly innocent while the other looked nonchalant. With no words to say about the situation, two of her fingers were instantly put together and pressed against her temple. She was going to inform Jun Wu. However, Hua Cheng moved faster than her, and with but a look, the two doors to the side chamber rapidly shut close, and Ling Wen's face also suddenly appeared to have dropped as she lowered her hand. Hua Cheng's Zhu is indeed incredible. San Liang, you've created a ward? Xie Lian asked. I've established a small one, Hua Cheng said. The perimeter is only set to this side chamber. Jun Wu could establish no ward within the heavenly capital, isolating everyone within the ward from the outside world. Then naturally Hua Cheng could also create an even smaller ward, sealing the spiritual powers of those within and prevent them from communicating spiritually. A small ward within a larger ward. In this moment, this side chamber had become a chest within a chest. However, this was Jun Wu's power domain after all, so the ward established couldn't be built too big lest Jun Wu would notice. Xie Lian nodded. Ling Wen, I'm sure you can see that the brocade immortal is currently in our hands. If you don't want to have it burned down by ghost fire, please don't make any reckless moves. Yet unexpectedly, when Ling Wen heard him, she laughed. But, Your Highness, Ling Wen said, the brocade immortal isn't actually in your hands. To be honest, Xie Lian had suspected as much. Nonetheless, he still voiced the most logical deduction of the current situation. Ling Wen, after you've come in and out, you didn't wear it anymore. I don't think the brocade immortal is anywhere else but here inside this side chamber. However, Ling Wen said, Your Highness, have you perhaps misunderstood something? I only said it's not in the chest on your hands, but I didn't say it wasn't here inside this side chamber. Hearing this, Xie Lian suddenly thought of a possibility, and slightly turned his head. Hua Cheng must have thought of the same thing he did, and the two both moved their gazes to the white robe on Xie Lian's person. And, you've guessed right, Ling Wen said. Right now, it's being worn by Your Highness. Earlier when Xie Lian was trying on the other black robes, he had casually thrown aside the white robe he wore, and later when he inspected the clothes, all the robes had already been lumped together. Somehow, that brocade immortal had unsuspectingly turned into the appearance of that white cultivator robes of his, and then picked up and put on his person. Xie Lian looked down at his clothes and wondered inwardly, then where's my original outer robe? Hua Cheng casually lifted his hand and that chest of robes toppled over, the black robes within spilling onto the ground. Hidden deep within dozens of black robes, there was one white robe that was crushed at the very bottom. That was the real outer robe Xie Lian had worn coming in. Needless to say, this must be a wicked spell that brocade immortal had casted. And while the two were trying on clothes randomly, it took the chance and dragged Xie Lian's outer robe into the chest, while it slipped out itself, transforming into that robe's appearance to replace it, allowing itself to be picked up and put on by Xie Lian. Xie Lian wasn't surprised in the least, but was only confused. Isn't this a little too cunning? It was only an article of clothing. Besides, didn't they say the brocade immortal itself wasn't very clever? However, it wasn't hard to guess either that it was most likely Ling Wen who taught it this idea. Sure enough, Ling Wen said, I gave it this idea and didn't actually think it would come to use. So, now, it's as if it was I who made your highness wear this brocade immortal. If it was Hua Cheng who handed the robe to Xie Lian and Xie Lian put it on, then the commander would be Hua Cheng. However, if the brocade immortal used Ling Wen's idea and tricked Xie Lian into wearing it, then the commander was Ling Wen. Which meant that Xie Lian now would obey Ling Wen's words, and heed her every order. Ling Wen, Xie Lian tried. Have you never thought that the brocade immortal might not work on me? Ling Wen smiled. I won't know until I've tried, your highness. From now on, you cannot attack me. If you hear me, then nod your head. Xie Lian didn't intend to nod. Yet unexpectedly, after Ling Wen gave her order, before Xie Lian knew it, he had already involuntarily nodded. How come it was now effective? It clearly didn't work earlier when Hua Cheng gave orders. Could it be it was only ineffective when the commander was Hua Cheng? If that was the case, then the tables had suddenly turned. Xie Lian didn't move, Hua Cheng didn't move either, and the two only exchanged looks, both very calm and steady. Ling Wen was calm and steady too. Then, now, will Hua Cheng Zhu please remove the ward from this side chamber? Xie Lian instantly said. San Lang, don't do it. Are you sure, your highness? Ling Wen said. I can order you to do anything. Hua Cheng still remained still, and Xie Lian thought, even if I can't touch Ling Wen, it's alright, no one else is under restrictions. As long as San Ling catches her off guard and seizes her, preventing her from giving any orders, then the problem would be solved. However, Ling Wen was sharp and guessed their plans and added, Hua Cheng Zhu, I suggest you not to waste your time thinking of ways to catch me off guard to hold me down. Your highness, listen well, if Hua Cheng Zhu is to attack me, or do any sort of harm towards me, then you will attack him. With this, she blocked the plans the other party could have possibly used first. Alright, Hua Cheng Zhu, time to remove the ward, Ling Wen said. I have work to do still. Ling Wen Palace is piled with civil matters I need to manage that haven't looked through yet. Can we solve this little problem quickly? Hua Cheng only smirked. The next moment, Ling Wen's eyes widened, and she appeared as if she wanted to speak, but no voice was coming out. If there was anyone standing behind her right now, they would discover that on the back of her neck perched a deathly spirit butterfly with silver fluttering wings since who knows when. It was this tiny little creature that stopped her body from moving and her voice unable to sound. Hua Cheng hugged his arms and showed that incredibly insincere, fake smile. He said lazily, if I wanted to hold anyone down, did you think I'd need to catch them off guard? Ling Wen couldn't speak, but the words in her eyes were clear. Hua Cheng Zhu, have you forgotten? I've already given His Highness an order. And right then, the brocade immortal activated its powers. Xie Lian turned around abruptly, raised his hand and lunged towards Hua Cheng. An unknown amount of time had passed before Xie Lian's vision suddenly cleared, and he instantly came to his senses. San Lang. Hua Cheng was standing right before him, and upon his red robe over his heart was a crushing hand. It was Xie Lian's hand. Hua Cheng didn't dodge this blow at all and only stood there, letting Xie Lian strike full force on his heart. Xie Lian hadn't yet come around to react before Hua Cheng had firmly gripped his wrist, his voice low. Alright. Attack complete. Command release. Sure enough, after Xie Lian succeeded in his attack, he felt his body slacken, his freedom returning. For the sake of releasing Xie Lian from the command, Ling Wen gave. Hua Cheng actually just stood there and took that blow without dodging. Once the order was released, Xie Lian instantly withdrew his hand, his face dropping, and it was a moment before he asked, San Lang, are you hurt? He observed Hua Cheng's face closely. However, because Watching wasn't a live human being, his skin was the color of snow that hadn't seen sun, and no visible changes could be seen at the moment. However, his tone of voice certainly didn't change, and he smiled. Gerger is indeed incredible. What a beautiful blow. Xie Lian's face was dark, like he'd been scared by him, and said solemnly, I wasn't joking around. I used a seventh of my strength in my hand earlier. Are you really alright? When Ling Wen gave her order, the word she used was attack. Typically when Xie Lian exchanged blows with people, he never used attack as the reason to make a move. Usually it was for self-defense or for holding the other down, so once he moved with attack as the reason, he really wasn't sure what would happen to the other if he was to strike directly. Watching replied slowly, I wasn't joking. Gerger really is incredible. If you weren't wearing those two things on your body, perhaps not even Jun Wu would be your match. Xie Lian unconsciously touched his neck, and when he felt that cursed shackle, he immediately dropped his hand. Just then, Watching added, Gerger, I have a question for you. What is it? Xie Lian asked. You had a chance to remove those cursed shackles, Watching said. Why did you keep those things to bind you? Xie Lian hadn't expected he'd ask that question and was taken aback. Maybe it was to remind myself of some things. He then said, San Lang, don't change the subject. What kind of bad habit is this? The situation just now, it'd be fine if you'd just hold me on. Why did you have to take the blow yourself? However, Watching replied, Gerger, you knew this is a bad habit too? When it comes to taking a beating, you have no right to lecture me, you know. Oh, really? Xie Lian said, but the moment the words left his mouth he felt guilty. It must be known at that time he fought the fetus spirit in the water. Watching caught him red-handed for almost swallowing a sword. Watching replied, oh really? Why use other ways if I can solve the problem by taking a beating? Is your bad influence on me? Xie Lian waved his hand. Never mind, San Lang. Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's look at these robes first. He pulled at the hem of that white robe, feeling extremely woeful. This was just great. The brocade immortal sure was found, but now, they must think of a way to take it off. End chapter.